So if Adam caused the problem, bringing sin onto the timeline, and Jesus Christ solved the problem by setting an example for us and giving us an idea of God's will, because living in God's will is a good thing. Living in Adam's will of disobedience ain't very good at all, because it brings death. So that makes this creation that we're in now, this world in which we live, not the final end to God's creation. This is kind of a means to an end. I mean, this is the garden where the weeds and the wheat grow together until the harvest. Well, then the harvest is the opening of the new heavens and the new earth to come. So God is still creating. And we, you and I, are co-creators with God. We have stuff to do here on earth. Oh. And that's why I think we are still in the sixth day of creation, not the seventh, because God's not done yet. He's still working. Okay, so believing that or thinking that we're in the sixth day of creation is kind of a problem. I passed Ken Ham. He's an expert in Genesis and has a museum that's an ark, a copy of the ark somewhere in the United States. And he's well known for his knowledge of the book of Genesis. And I met him in the hall at a church, and I asked him, do you think we're still in the sixth day of creation? And he laughed, and he looked at me as if my Happy Meal didn't have all the French fries. And he said, no, we're in the seventh day. And he moved on, I moved on. But I think we're in the sixth day. And the reason for that is God is still creating. Jesus Christ said at one point in one of the Gospels, I think it was John, he said, I only do what I see my Father doing. Well, doing isn't resting. In the seventh day he rested, but this is the sixth day, and he's still doing. All the way through the Old Testament, God is doing stuff. You know, the burning bush and the tower, the manna from heaven and all that. He was doing things in the Old Testament. He's still doing things now. Christ is God, and he was doing stuff in this timeline. And so God is not resting. We have stuff to do. Believers are members of the priesthood. And believers are ambassadors, and believers are fragrance of Christ, ambassadors for Christ, members of the priesthood. And that all has to do with doing stuff. So this world in which we're living now appears to be the staging area for what God is going to be doing in the future, which is the new heavens and the new earth. So we have, believers, have stuff to do. So we are co-creators in a sense with God. Just as God has stuff to do, he's preparing for the new heavens and the new earth, so we have stuff to do as members of the priesthood of believers, as ambassadors, and as fragrance. Stuff to do. God has a plan for your success, and we're here to help you work it.